Welcome back to Life Spark, where we light a fire under wellness, biohacking, and building a life that actually feels good. Today's guest is a human optimization machine. He's the founder of Superfood Superhuman, a certified hormone and nutrition coach, and the dude who probably hasn't touched a seed oil since 2017. We'll have to find out. From the corporate life to coaching elite professionals on how to take back control of their bodies, he's helping people finally feel like themselves again. And we're looking damn good doing it. Mike, welcome to the pod. Can you introduce yourself to those who don't know you?
Yes, thank you so much for having me on, Conrad. That was a very warm welcome, very accurate welcome. Really appreciate you having me here. And yeah, stoked to get it going.
I love it, man. So let's just dive in, dude. What's the biggest lie or misconception in the wellness industry? What's something that people are selling that you're not buying?
Wow, that's a powerful first question. I think the diet culture can be really toxic. And I think what I've really been able to dissect is the fact that most people that are going crazy and yelling at you about having to go keto or carnivore or vegan or whatever it might be is because they're eating real food and they're starting to eliminate processed food, which is totally toxic to the body. And they're just becoming more conscious about what they're eating. And so I think a lot of people sort of tie their egos to you have to drink raw milk or you have to have sourdough or you have to eat sauerkraut or you're supposed to eat raw liver. And don't get me wrong, those things can be super beneficial. But I think what I found is a lot of people kind of outsource their brain to other people and they outsource the ability to listen to their own body. So what I'm not buying is like the fact that people are screaming at you through the Instagram screen saying that you have to do this or you should do that or you shouldn't be doing this, because it's all shame based, it's all guilt based, and I don't think that's sustainable at all. So yeah, I think being able to tune into your own body, every time someone asks me like what diet I follow, I never have an answer because I just eat real food and listen to the feedback that my body gives me.
Dude, it makes sense. And we know people are getting sicker, right? So just a few quick stats. Right now, about half of people have some sort of a cardiovascular disease in the US. And in 2050, it's supposed to go up to over 60%. Why are people getting sicker in America?
I think the pandemic was just the perfect example of when you suppress something at a micro or macro level, eventually the truth is going to come out. And that truth is that in America, we're sicker than we've ever been. And yes, the virus is one thing, but the reality is the host that holds the virus is what causes these issues, right? So, they talk about a lot of the stats around, people who have pre-existing conditions were more likely to have severe symptoms or they're more likely to die. And the truth is we have literally 4% of the world's population, yet we had 20% of all pandemic deaths. I think my goal, right, coaching 70 clients later, 3 or 4 years in this journey, we just live in a toxin ubiquitous world that our body has never been able to and won't ever be able to adapt to. So the reality is we don't want to live in a bubble and be scared of everything, but we also have to be super aware of like what's actually affecting us. And to your point, like you said in the beginning, like whether it's seed oils or, tap water or plastic that leaches into your food or cookware that, have these forever chemicals that stay in your body, like the body's just under attack basically every day. And so that's why I'm just really passionate about eating real food, eating food as close to the source as you possibly can, but also realizing that everything is interconnected. And, the people you surround yourself with and the food you choose or choose not to consume, or the cookware you use, or are you filtering your water, or how is your sleep? I think that we're so detached from ourselves because the underlying fallacy is that we're separate from nature. And the day that happened is the day that the ego was born. And then we live in these, protective mechanisms and put on these masks, and it just leads to a lot of different things that aren't really healthy for us. So yeah, I think we're more sick than we've ever been is because we're so out of touch with nature. We live in a box. We are staring at a screen all day. We're staring at our phones. We're isolating ourselves from other humans. And so one of my biggest concepts is like returning to nature, whether you're putting your feet in the grass or you're going to the beach, you're jumping in the ocean, or you're eating real food. Because the reality is we are nature. And the more you immerse yourself in it, or the more you eat it, the more you connect to yourself.
Mike, should we be listening to our digestive system as a sign of something bigger?
1,000%. Hippocrates said it thousands of years ago that all disease begins in the gut. And that rings so true. I think a lot of the hormone issues that are out there, whether it's from men or from women, yeah, a lot of it starts from the gut. I think a lot of that is downstream. And, when I burnt myself out, I was like doing way too much. I was overextending myself. My cortisol was super high. At that time, my testosterone tanked. And also my gut health was suppressed because my cortisol and my stress was so high. And I think that's such like a intangible thing that you can't really put a finger on. Yeah, we're stressed. We work hard. Like, people just kind of throw the word burnout out there, but I don't think people realize how much stress affects your gut. And, that's one aspect, that's one pillar, but also like, again, like learning how to tune into your body. A lot of people are so numb that they don't actually realize that eating a certain food or having seed oils might be causing their skin issues, or it might be causing, depression or anxiety, like having too much sugar, these afternoon crashes. So yeah, I think your gut is the ultimate kind of like navigation tool, honestly, and compass to what is really going on in your body. And to be totally frank with you, like I used to eat, buffalo chicken calzones and Subway and pizza and like candy and like just literally the standard American diet. And so, yes, I've learned so much in the past 5 years. And at the same time, like compound interest doesn't just work with money. It works with, things you're consuming. And so for me, I used to take antibiotics because of my skin issues and, constantly every day, we're so far away from our food system, even when food is organic or like, especially people that aren't eating organic, you're having glyphosate and it's affecting your gut. And so I'm always trying to optimize my gut health. I'm always willing to admit what I don't know so that I can learn more and feel my best.
Yeah. So is there a problem really too much food, or is it really too little of the right food?
I believe it's both.
Mm-hmm.
I believe it's both. I think, people are so obsessed with calories for more or less a good reason, but I think it can really ruin people's relationship with food. And I think at the end of the day, like we've never had access to this much food in general. I'm a big fan of intuitive eating. Like your body literally knows when it's full and when it's hungry and when it needs to eat and when it doesn't need to eat. But because we're so overstimulated and our stress is so high, like we either don't eat enough or we eat too much. And people work super busy jobs and they like skip breakfast and maybe they have a little bit of a lunch or nothing at all, or maybe a protein bar, and then they gorge at dinner, which is like totally just in reverse of how your circadian rhythms work, just like when you sleep at night. And so, yeah, it's just like the fast paced go, go, go world that I think causes a lot of these downstream effects. And yeah, what I always like to say is we're overfed, but undernourished.
I like that. I like that. I'm definitely overfed, man. I love snacking, but I'm trying not to. So you built Superfood Superhuman into a movement. How did it start?
Struggling for a decade, going dermatologist to dermatologist, wondering why I had chronic acne all over my face, wondering why I had these hemorrhoids constantly, just getting no answers, being told just to like drink more water and have some more fiber. And long story short, I grew up as an athlete, played lacrosse, played baseball, played basketball, and then I got introduced to calisthenics. I started doing calisthenics. I got obsessed with the workouts. I injured my shoulder. That got me into the human body. Then I started getting into nutrition. That trickled me into like shopping at Whole Foods and just being more conscious about what I eat. I realized all the best food was coming from California. So then I moved to California after a golf trip because I loved it and it just like was calling to my soul. And then the pandemic happened about 6 months after I moved to San Diego. And that was the first time in my life I really slowed down and was like, wow, like I wonder what I want to really do with my life. And I got introduced to nutrition cert through the Institute of Integrative Nutrition. And within like 4 weeks of changing my diet, all my acne totally eradicated. And I was like, whoa, like how come nobody knows this? And all the things that are chalked up as normal, family members having cancer and a history of heart disease and, friends that I knew with like, 26 years old getting cancer. I'm like, dude, this is like not normal. And it was kind of just like a pulling and a calling to really start doing something about it. And that's really where it all kind of began.
So let's say I'm a new client you're coaching. Where do we start?
The why and the vision, like that's the ultimate compass. And I know that can seem a little bit intangible and like spiritual for some people, but especially when it comes to like the identity of like who you're trying to become, like a lot of people just try to like quit eating junk food or quit snacking or quit coffee, but it's like, who are you trying to become and why is that important to you? And when you have that like clear, crisp vision of who you want to be and where you want to go, then the work, in my opinion and my experience, literally just like organically happens. But I think at the same time, like with my program, I have people go through like these pre-recorded modules and educational videos about kind of what Jack was saying before, like we're overfed and like this like crazy calorie surplus is just like realizing, like slowing down for a second and being like, okay, what's happening? How can I audit my life and be like, I have this like chronic acne, or like I'm having these afternoon energy crashes, or I feel like I sleep 8 hours, but I still am really tired when I wake up. Like, what are the deposits I'm putting into my body and subjecting my body to? And then as a result, like, how am I feeling? So even just like an example could be, hey, like on a scale of 1 to 10, let's say like with your sleep, like on a scale of 1 to 10, how good is your sleep? Another question can also be like, okay, 0 to 7, 7 days of the week. How many nights per week are you looking at your phone within 30 minutes before you go to bed? Because I think we have to kind of reverse engineer. It's like, oh, I'm tired all the time. I feel like I don't have motivation to work out. First, you got to get into the vision and identity, because then that motivates you to go to bed earlier, which then you can get up earlier. Then you can have habits and you can like get stuff done before your day even starts. So I kind of like to reverse engineer it. It's like audit, okay, like what are the things I'm consuming? How am I feeling as a result of that? And then like, what do I want to achieve in this world? How do I want to feel? Okay, cool. Well, then I should probably focus on my sleep. I should probably get some good rest so I can have more energy to do the things that I like. So long story short, just kind of auditing what you're doing now and realizing that you can eat the healthiest that you possibly ever could. But if you don't believe you're worthy of healing, or you don't actually believe that you can get better, or you're still adding the toxins into your body that are just kind of canceling out all the good that you're doing, then it's kind of like, what are we doing here? So that's why like all the things with like Ozempic and all these weight loss drugs, it's like, okay, cool, I can take this and I can lose some weight, but am I actually addressing the mindset that got me here in the first place? So yeah, I like to start with the mindset and kind of reverse engineer it from.
Totally. It sounds like you need to make them realize their problems, right? The way you spoke about it was you need them to believe they're worthy, you need them to buy in. So it's almost as though they're buying into the system, and it's kind of like it needs to be their idea to break through.
Yeah. And something I heard from Hormozy actually recently was, if you say a belief, or you say you believe in something, but you can't actually explain it, it's not actually your belief, it's somebody else's.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, so much of that is down to the belief system, right? And until you can change that around, your behavior is not going to change. And yeah, very fascinating. Mike, you've worked with a wide range of different people, from athletes, CEOs, flight attendants. What's one pattern, or is there a consistent pattern that you've seen in people who just can't stay consistent?
Hmm. Yeah, that's the thing I hear all the time. It's like, I know what I need to do, but for some reason I just don't do it. Or like, oh, I'm good for a couple weeks, and then I fall off because I went to this wedding, or I fell off because I went to this birthday party. I think the commonality I see for a lot of people that come into my program is just, I guess it's really something I take for granted because it's so ingrained into my lifestyle, but it's just like sheer awareness. And this is something I learned from Deepak Chopra. It's like, you can't change what you're not aware of. And every time I go through like an audit with people's like pantry and fridge, or like they're just starting to go through my program about, creating a wind down routine and a morning routine, they're like, holy crap, I never even realized like how unaware I was of like, I'm putting in X and I'm feeling Y. And yeah, I think that's really the biggest thing. When I ask people, like, what have you really learned when you've gone through this program? It's just like how to listen to my own body, how to tune into myself and actually know what's right for me, instead of like looking on TikTok and Instagram being like, Paul Saladino said to do this, or Huberman said to do that, so I should do that. And it's like, it's not untrue. There's some good science and research, but it's like, what is your body telling you? And the ultimate truth comes from yourself, nowhere else. So I think a lot of people have just kind of like sort of outsourced the skill of listening to their body and knowing what it takes to be a healthy human in the world in the year 2025, which is like a place we've never lived before. So yeah, I think that's the number one thing, is just awareness.
Is there a particular group of people that are surprisingly more healthy or unhealthy, or super aware versus unaware in their habits, and dietary regimen speaks to that at all?
I think that healthy is like the most subjective term out there. And I'm a nutrition health coach, but I can't sit here and say that I define what health is and everybody should follow what that is. It's like, again, like tuning into your body and listening to that. And so I don't know, there's a lot of people that have come into my program that are like, they grew up as athletes and they played lacrosse and they played baseball and basketball and football. And they're like, oh my God, only thing I ever knew was like counting calories. And my coach would tell me to do this and I'd restrict it and I'd lose weight and it'd feel good. But it was like, it was really hard to get there and it felt restrictive. Like, I'm trying to teach people that eating healthy and respecting your body is actually fun. Like, I'll have a lot of people come to my program being like, I thought I knew what it meant to be healthy until I joined your program. I think a lot of people fear that they have to like totally uproot their life, They can never have fun again. They have to sacrifice all these things that they love to eat, or even people that they like to surround themselves with because of the peer pressure. But like when you like kind of realize what is serving you and what's not, that becomes so much more empowering. Instead of like, oh, I can't have Chick-fil-A, I can't have Chipotle. It's like, no, I like genuinely don't want that because I'm aware of the ingredients. I'm aware of how that's going to make me feel. But overall, I'd say there's a lot of noise out there, especially on social media. People don't know what to believe. They're really confused. So I think like listening to yourself and listening to the feedback that your body continuously gives you. But yeah, I mean, I'm very grateful. I would say that like millennials, like we are the wellness generation. Like never before have we had so much coverage in the news about health. Like I've been doing this for like 6 years deep. And in the past 6 months, I've seen it covered more in that span than I have in all of 6 years. And so, yes, I think a lot of baby boomers and the quote dad bod, or like, you know, men walking around with like literally pregnant bellies. Like people joke about that stuff, but I mean, to me, it's not a joke. Like you got to take that seriously. That's your internal organs literally being surrounded by fat, which is the most toxic thing. That, you know, waistline fat is the most toxic thing to your body. So yeah, I mean, in general, I think some of the older folks maybe a little bit less aware, not to their fault. They were never taught it, especially in the 1960s when food industrialization really started taking off, and high fructose corn syrup and all these seed oils and stuff like that. But yeah, even the like healthy athletes, a lot of like people that are active, they go and run and they, you know, they do all these ice baths and stuff. Like it doesn't mean they're not healthy, but if you are trying to optimize, you are trying to like be your absolute best. Like I think one of the best skills is vulnerability, and just like raising your hand and being like, hey, like maybe I could go to someone that could make me even feel that much better. Or like maybe this greenwashing just because it says organic or vegan or keto, maybe this isn't actually healthy. Maybe I could even feel better than I do now.
Yeah.
You've said eating Chick-fil-A is like voluntarily poisoning yourself. What are the worst foods that people eat on a daily basis? And are there any foods that are must avoids?
I know this might be a little bit spiritual for some folks, but I think just like when you really start to tune into your body, like it was funny because one of my roommates was like, dude, what if you stopped eating healthy for a week and you like only ate Chipotle and like Chick-fil-A and like McDonald's? I was like, honestly, I think my body would go into a shock. Like I don't know like what would happen. Like I might die because my body's so used to just respecting itself. And I'm not perfect, but like I just know how certain foods are going to make me feel. So I think that's the first step, is like awareness of, okay, what is actually in my food? Like this isn't just a piece of chicken or a piece of bread. This is like 100 ingredients, literally 55 ingredients you can't even read or don't even know what they are. They don't even share them with you. But overall, I'd say like just sticking to real food is probably the easiest way you can avoid a lot of things. And I like to teach my clients the word industrialization, right? Like there's so much like packaged food that's like healthier, has like these like labels that are organic and vegan. But yeah, I'm all about the healthier processed food. But at the end of the day, it's still made in a lab. It's still like manufactured in like a warehouse. So the best ingredients, you know, and the best like way to know if the ingredient is healthy for you is obviously the shorter the list, the better. And also like no ingredient list at all. You just look at the apple, or you look at the, you know, piece of lettuce, or you look at the steak. It's just, you know, it is what it is. But if I had to give like tangible action items or lists, like, yeah, like you said, like seed oils, I got to avoid safflower oil, sunflower oil, corn oil, canola oil. I won't go too much into the details of like why that matters, but basically the fats get oxidized and that causes free radicals in your body. That causes inflammation, which is the root of all disease. So I'd get rid of the oils. You know, something you're doing every day is like probably cooking with certain oils, or you're eating processed food with certain oils. So get rid of the oils. For me personally, especially with my skin journey, getting rid of gluten and dairy, not from a restrictive standpoint, from an empowering standpoint. And the quality matters a lot, because if it's grass-fed beef versus conventional, or if it's, you know, raw cheese versus not, then like that's going to cause an issue. And so for me, like I struggled with the acne for a while, but I can still have like grass-finished yogurt, which I like. I can still have like ghee butter, which is clarified butter that doesn't have casein, which is why people love cheese, by the way. It's like really addicting because it literally releases casomorphine in your brain. But yeah, I'd say try to cut out the seed oils, have a healthier relationship with the quality of gluten or dairy, or totally eliminate it, especially if you're having like issues or skin issues or gut issues. And then like, yeah, a lot of the things in processed food, like certain ingredients like carrageenan, which you'll find in a lot of like ice creams, caramel color you'll find in like Sweet Baby Ray's, you know, hot sauce and all that stuff. Yeah, xanthan gum you'll see in everything, natural flavors you'll see in everything. which is like basically if it's from an animal source or a plant source, they can deem it natural, but they can also add as many chemicals as they want. So yeah, just being more aware, even just turning the label around, which is again, I guess something I kind of take for granted, but start to look at the ingredients, the less the better. Try to stay away from seed oils, minimize gluten and dairy. And when you do have it, make sure it's high quality. Those are probably the biggest things, I'd say, top three.
Those are good, man. And to take it a step further, it's even getting harder, right? When you eat real foods, there aren't as many nutrients as there used to be, right? So we get a lot of magnesium from our soil, from our foods, and magnesium in our soil's dropping like crazy because of over farming. And over half of the US population is magnesium deficient. So I think to your point, a big part of it is buying in and researching and learning, okay, one in two people are magnesium deficient. I should probably figure this out. I should either supplement or I should eat really high magnesium foods. And I just don't think people know.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think a lot of people kind of like play this objectively like victim mentality of like, oh my God, like now olive oil is like, laced with seed oils, or like, I thought this was healthy and now someone's saying this is bad. Like I'm just going to give up. Like they're literally just like so overwhelmed and they're like, screw this. Like, you only live once, like whatever, just eat whatever, which is fine. The body's resilient. But at the same time, you come back to that word industrialization and you're like, holy crap, like we're so far removed from our soil. Like you have to basically eat 4 apples to match the same nutritional value of 1 apple like 60 years ago. And there's like science and there's research in that. And also, that's what I say to my clients all the time. You don't know how bad you felt until you start feeling good. You don't know what an orange actually tastes like until you eat an orange that you freshly picked off of the plant. And I literally just did that. I just came from a vineyard and I literally just had a fresh orange. I was like, this is the best orange I've ever had. And obviously we live in the modern world. We live in the 21st century. Like there's going to be a lot of things that are out of our control. But if you really care about your health, you're going to go to the farmer's market. You're going to do the research. You're going to hire a coach. Like if you care and respect your own self and your body and the way you want to feel and the life you want to live, like you're going to do the research. You're going to hire someone to help you and you're just going to make it happen. Because if you care about something, you'll just do it.
And Mike, you said you used to drink because you didn't like who you were, which I think is really real and raw. How did you realize that and then commit to making a change?
First off, thank you guys for doing your research and studying my social media. I appreciate that. And secondly, I love that question. I grew up just like any other dude, just, kind of a burn it off mentality as an athlete, whatever. Like literally when I was in college, I would black out on like a Wednesday night and then wake up and run across a bridge with my buddy that was like whatever, 2 or 3 miles, or bike across the bridge and just kind of quote sweat it out. And that's just kind of what you did, right? That was college. And then like nothing really changed when I hit the real world, just same habits. And that's what I've kind of realized. Like when you don't actually change your awareness or you don't change, what's going on in your life, like nothing's going to change. And so you're going to be operating from a 4-year-old, eating habits wise, or whether it's emotional intelligence, you're going to be operating like a 4-year-old boy in a 40-year-old body. But to your point, like what basically happened, long story short, was when I injured my shoulder, I got into nutrition. That like really just changed my awareness. And that's where pain is such a powerful teacher. It's like I just became more in tune with the body. And then I was like starting to eat healthier, especially once I became a nutrition coach and started learning more. And I was like, here I am like eating really healthy food and like nourishing my body, but then I'm literally consuming ethanol, which is straight poison to your body and to your liver. Like this doesn't align. This feels like I feel like I'm living like a double life. Like this doesn't even like make sense, and nor does it make me feel good. And so it was like 3 to 5 years, especially once I moved to California, which has been 5 years now. There's plenty of places you can go and drink. I think it's like the 2nd or 3rd largest like brewery per capita in the country. But there's also tons of areas where you can go to juice shops and like go to yoga classes. And so I chose that family. And yeah, it was basically 3 years of not really drinking. Maybe I would go to like a winery with my family, or it'd be like a birthday. There was even one birthday like the year before I totally gave it up, where I was like with my cousins. I think it was in like Florida or something. And they're like, don't you want to have a glass of wine? I was like, honestly, like not really, but I mean, I guess because it's my birthday. And then there were like 2 incidences when I was at a like outdoor concert once, and I drank too much, and I ended up having this like fried chicken sandwich from this food truck because there was no other food around for like 6 hours. Woke up with the worst heartburn. I woke up on the couch and I was like, got 1 hour of sleep. Sun's like blasting in my face early in the morning. I was like, honestly, like screw this. Like I don't want to drink anymore. And then from there, it was like very, very rare occasions. And that final straw was kind of just like, as I got more in tune with emotional intelligence and like, yeah, the way that people kind of numb out their feelings through alcohol. I was at a club and I kind of just had this like zoom out moment where I was like, I think I was at this like party with a bunch of like friends, and one of them like basically put a vodka soda in my hand, and I was like looking here, and somehow the thing like ended up in my hand, and I was like, I don't really want this, but okay, cool. It's a special occasion. Like I'll just have a sip. This was like Cinco de Mayo. And I was like, honestly, like I don't like being drunk anymore. Like I don't like this feeling of like not feeling like myself and like my highest self. And I'm like looking around the club, and I'm like, all of these men or little boys basically are just drinking their sorrows and drinking their own inability to manage their emotions away and numbing out. And in that moment, I was like, I'm done with this. Like I've had like family history of alcoholism. I've had cousins, I've had uncles. Like I'm like, dude, the buck stops here. Like I'm just not going to drink anymore. And like I'm going to be that guy that just changes everything.
Yeah, that's cool. You quit your day or your corporate job to start your health coaching business. What gave you the confidence to go ahead and make that leap?
I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with Joe Dispenza, but he always says that evidence is the loudest voice. And it basically came to a point where I started making more money in my own business than I was in my corporate job. And my brain like couldn't compute that. I was like, here I am, like lighting myself up, doing something I absolutely love, serving people that I really want to work with. I'm making more money. Like, why am I going to spend 40 hours like just working my ass off to like make this paycheck that's literally less than what I'm making now? So that was one aspect, but honestly, it was more just like this like gut instinct and this like intuition of like, okay, I just signed like 10 clients this month. Like I clearly have like a proof of concept here. And there's so much fear around leaving your corporate job, which, you know, there's rationalizations, there's obligations, there's families, like protection and providing and all that. And I get that. And I'm very grateful. Like, I guess I did that when I was what, 27 or 28, single guy, you know, living here in California. But I mean, at the end of the day, everyone has different situations. Everyone has different predicaments. But if you really care about something, you're going to make it happen. And so, yeah, I started kind of doing both jobs at once. I had to go through these like tough conversations with like my manager at the time. And it was like kind of like I was like living a double life, and it was just like burning me out, honestly. And so I'd made the decision to leave my job in like July of 22, I think it was. Yeah, 22. And 2 months before that happened, I started getting burnout symptoms because I was just like pushing myself way too hard, doing both jobs. Started getting afternoon energy crashes. My gut health was like kind of suffering. And so it kind of just like forced me out. But I also made a plan with like a business coach who was like, okay, like here's how much savings you're going to have when you leave. Here's how many clients you're going to want to sign a month based on the lifestyle you're living. And it definitely has not necessarily gone to that exact plan to a T. Like entrepreneurship is the ultimate turbocharger to self-development, and having to sit with yourself and your emotions and all the stuff that gets in the way, or all the quote problems you have in your business are really just kind of a reflection of the problems that you have in yourself that need to be healed. So long story short, yeah, it was a kind of a combination of like, okay, cool, I got a proof of concept here. Like people are really like, they want to learn from me. They want to know more about their health, and like they're coming to me for it. People from from like high school that I was like acquaintances with, like would reach out from the woodworks. I'd get a DM that would just pop up on my phone. I'm like, oh, I didn't even know you were watching my content. Like that's really cool. And then I kind of made a plan with my business coach, and then I started burning out, and I was like, all right, like I gotta go. I gotta get out of here.
So what are your top 3 key pillars of health?
Sleep is number 1 for sure. Stress management and emotional intelligence, number 2, and nutrition, number 3. Honestly, I'd say like in that order too. Obviously, I started off as a nutrition coach, and at the same time, like it's really led me down this like spiritual path, because eating healthier has opened up my vessel. It's opened up my gut. It's opened up my body. It's opened up my brain. I'm more calm. And so literally this business and everything, and me being on this podcast right now, is a manifestation of me taking care of myself. And it is with those 3 pillars of sleep, health, stress management, and nutrition. And I think that middle one too is so underrated, because people are like, oh, I'm eating super healthy, or I'm having all my juices, or I'm eating raw liver, and I'm like having raw milk and sourdough, and I'm eating all the healthy stuff. But then it's like, okay, well, you're also like working a job that's just destroying your mental health, or you're in a relationship with somebody that's totally draining your energy, or you're people pleasing, or you're overextending yourself. And this is what Joe Dispenza says all the time. Is like, again, you can eat all the juices and you can have all the supplements, but if you're not like changing your identity or like self-respecting from a stress management and just like self-respect sort of perspective, then it's going to be a long road. So I don't know any other way to approach health other than holistically.
And I feel like the three that you gave, right? Sleep, stress management, nutrition, the second two feed into the third, right? If you're super stressed, you're probably not sleeping. And if you're eating like shit, you're probably not sleeping super well either. So it's almost like a litmus test, right? Am I sleeping well? If no, you should probably look at the other upstream things.
Yeah, it's funny, man. I mean, I still have thought about it to this day, and I have the material and I have the resources to do it literally right now if I wanted to. I've thought about doing like mini courses for people like, oh, just gut health or just do this sleep health or do this meditation. And it's good. You want to tackle like one thing at a time. And that's how I kind of like phase out my program and help people with. Because, you know, if you're doing too much all at once, it's overwhelming. But it's like, dude, you can't, like, how you eat affects how you sleep, and how you sleep affects how you eat, and how your, you know, stress levels are affects how you sleep. And, you know, the lack of sleep causes more stress. And so it's just like, you can't, it's impossible not to have it all be interconnected. So yeah, that's just how I've done it. It doesn't necessarily mean it's the only way you can do it. It's just what's worked well for me and all the clients that have gone through my program.
Totally. And Mike, can you tell us a little more about Joe Dispenza? Who that is? You following him?
How do I explain Joe Dispenza?
Very metaphysical.
Yeah, metaphysical, like quantum physics, which is also a word I still don't even really know what it means, to be totally honest. But yeah, he's very spiritual. He's all about like, I would say in a nutshell, he teaches you how to change your world literally through your thoughts. And he teaches you how to remove limiting beliefs that are literally the life that you're living. Like the story you tell is the life that you live, is what I feel like he would say, in a nutshell. But yeah, I think it's so underrated, especially when I was burnt out. It was like I was speaking so much negativity into my brain and into my body. And I was just like, yeah, just berating my own mind with my negative thoughts. And I didn't realize how much stress and like energy deprecation that was causing, and depletion. And so, yeah, Joe Dispenza is basically the guy that I've found like through my nutrition journey, and I've again opened up my mind and my spirituality. And like, I don't think the universe would present me him if I wasn't in tune with myself. And so he's just another deeper level of how to heal, because there's so many people that have cancer or, you know, a quote chronic illness, or they can't walk. And it's like people think it's so voodoo and so hipster, but he literally has a lab in San Diego at, I think, UCSD in La Jolla. And they're doing research on how meditation and breath work literally changes your brain. You know, the people out there that are brainwashed in a different capacity will say, oh, that's junk science, or it's pseudoscience, or you can't prove that. We don't have to get into that whole conversation as to why that is the case or why people perceive it to be like that. But yeah, Joe Dispenza is a master of helping you master your own beliefs, which then in turn basically presents to you the life that you live and the quote reality that you experience in this world.
Shifting gears a little bit, Mike, what's your view on the American health system?
I used to call it the sad American diet. SAD is what they say. And now I'm kind of calling it SAL, like sad American lifestyle, because I'm realizing how much everything is interconnected. I think it's right now, I think it's perfect. From a spiritual sense, I think it's perfect with what is happening and what is now being exposed in the media, the truth that is coming out that was always in one way or another bound to come out. So I think it's exactly where it needs to be, because pain is one of our best teachers. And 1 in 2 people have a chronic illness. 1 in 2 people have, you know, will be diagnosed with cancer at some point in their life. 1 in 3 Americans are pre-diabetic, and 90% of them don't even know it. You guys know all about the infertility stuff. I mean, it's so normalized. Like 1 in 5 couples can't get pregnant. IVF and all these things are like booming now, which is great. And I think it's beautiful for people that are struggling. And at the same time, we can also be like, why is this happening to begin with? And that's what I think a lot of people in the American healthcare system are not asking. They're not asking that question. Why am I treating thousands of cancer patients every year? You know, it's like, okay, we can pull people out of the river. I think this was Desmond Tutu. He says we can pull people out of the river, but like, why don't we start asking why people are even falling in the first place? So that kind of ties back to that root cause. And I think there's so much ego and so much pride, and people just like a lot of these like Western healthcare folks we can be very grateful for them. Emergencies and surgeries, and yes, there's therapeutic medications and stuff that we can use. And at the same time, like there are other tools. Like if people want to choose a different route, they can. And I think a lot of folks kind of tie their ego to like, I spent, $100,000 on like getting this degree, or like I spent years researching and studying, and this is it. But it's like, dude, letting the ego die and just like letting go, I think is really powerful for the micro level, but also the macro level if we really want to heal this world and heal ourselves.
Shifting to Superfood Superhuman, what's your content strategy? What has worked for you best to grow your business?
First off, thanks for saying Superfood Superhuman correctly, because the amount of people that somehow botch that is a lot. You said it right at the beginning and right now, so thanks. Dude, my strategy is authenticity. That's really it. I mean, it sounds simple, but I also take for granted that, like, I guess vulnerability is a skill. And a lot of people are afraid of it because the ego loves to cling on to a certain identity or a certain way of showing up. But 99% of the time, like when you're just yourself and you show what's raw and real, and you just like share with like what comes from your soul and your heart, instead of like, oh, this influencer is doing this trend, or like I have to follow this, or I can't keep up with that. It's exhausting. And so for me, it's just like one of my core values is intention. And so it's like, what do I want to get across when I'm posting this? Okay, I want to, if I'm not feeling like attached to the words in this caption, then people who are reading it definitely aren't. So yeah, I'm not a good liar. So I think just like authenticity and like really practicing, embodying, and then like preaching what has worked for me, and like not saying you have to do this or you should do that, or like, I can't believe you didn't know this. And like education is a huge part. So like for me, organically, I'm doing a lot of education style because that's just how I've been. Obviously sometimes people choose the humor route. Sometimes a lot of people are going like guilt and shame of like, you shouldn't do this, or you can't have that, or like kale is bad for you. And so for me, it's like, listen to your body, do what resonates with you. I think that ultimately, like for me, truth is not like an objective thing, or like science is not an objective thing. It's just like what resonates with you and what like harmonizes in your body. When like, there's tons of nutrition coaches out there. There's tons of podcasts out there. There's probably a lot of other, infertility supplement companies out there. Like, but it's like, dude, I'm not just like trying to work with anybody. I want to work with someone who sees me, they care about me, they understand me, like they can empathize. They've been through what I'm, trying to heal. And so for me, dude, it's just a lot of storytelling and being authentic and letting the law of attraction work its magic.
You have a great social media presence, man. Do you pay for advertising? Is it just all organic?
It's all organic, except for maybe like I want to say 6 months ago, I tried, because my buddy is like, he helps clients with like their Facebook advertising and stuff. And a lot of, I guess, like my pride for a while was like, oh, I'm like only going to be organic. Like I'm just going to do this like all organic. But then I realized I was like, oh, like maybe I'm actually doing a disservice. Like people are always talking to me about, oh my God, I love this video, or like this like grocery tour review that you did was like amazing, or I just really love your content. Like more people need to hear this. And I was like, okay, like maybe I am doing a disservice, and like I could boost this post, and people who need my help need to hear what I have to say. And that's actually how I found one of my recent coaches who kind of put me through a spiritual awakening. So I'm very grateful. I literally found his sponsored ad at the perfect time. But yeah, I would say over the 5 years I've been doing it, 99.5% of all of it's been organic. And then I've just kind of experimented with some boosted reels, which did pretty well, especially the podcast stuff. And I also think like I'm still kind of grassrooting a lot of things. So, for me, it's like there's a lot of influencers out there that have like 100,000 followers, but they get like 2 likes on their posts. And I'm not like here to measure likes, but it's like, do these people actually pay attention to what they say? Do they actually resonate with what they say? And this is just, a meta lesson of like quality over quantity. And so now, like for me, I'm working with, certain brands that see my mission. They see how I educate people. They see how I'm coming across to certain customers and followers. And they're like, okay, cool. Like this person's actually really engaged with their audience. It doesn't matter if they only have 6,000 followers. Like their people are going to listen to what he has to say.
Dude, so moving on to some fun stuff, Mike. So we're going to go to the speed round. We're going to give you a short question, and then you give us a 1-word answer. We'll start easy with some softballs to start. So, coffee or tea?
Tea.
Avocado oil or tallow?
Avocado oil.
Biggest red flag on a food label?
Organic.
Most underrated superfood?
Spirulina.
Hmm.
Most underrated workout?
Pilates.
Cold plunge or breath work?
Breath work.
What's your bench press?
I haven't bench pressed in probably 3 years. I have no idea.
We'll put you down at 500.
Let's do it.
What's your guilty pleasure?
I mean, my family's from New York, Long Island, so I love pizza when I get the chance. I always know how to find the good, healthier versions, though, and they still taste good.
Yeah. I said, did you make a all like natural pizza? On
I
your
did,
Instagram?
yeah. It was like organic sourdough and organic like pizza starter from a really healthy place here in San Diego called Prager Brothers, and it was really crunchy and delicious.
That's the good side. What's the bad side? What's the number one worst food that people eat?
Sugar.
Supplement you think everyone should take?
Community.
We already know sleep's the best. So what's second? Would it be diet, exercise, meditation? What's number two?
Yeah, it's nutrition, because the nutrition is just a form of self-respect, and it opens your vessel to become a higher version of yourself.
One health habit you swear by?
Breath work.
Which would you get rid of first? Alcohol, vapes, weed, or something else?
I think weed, because a lot of people justify that it's like good for them. I don't do vaping or weed or alcohol, so that's a tough one. But yeah, I'd say weed.
What's next for Mike Schmidt and Superfood Superhuman?
Only Joe Dispenza knows. Yeah, dude, a lot of exciting things. I'm working with one of my best friends right now on a protein bar company that I really, really, really believe in, because every time I go to the grocery store, it's like a game of Where's Waldo. And I feel like I've always been looking for the one, and I feel like I've found it now, which is exciting. So I'm helping him expand out here on the West Coast. We're already in like 10 or 11 stores within like 5 weeks, I think, which is awesome. That's a big pillar. I'm also just partnering with like brands, CPG, lifestyle brands, certain like healthier, packaged food product companies, but also like lifestyle stuff like inhalers and, oral health stuff. So a lot of like brand partnerships and and then kind of rolling out a new continuation plan for my past clients. Like I've already coached 70 clients again in like 3 years, and I want to like keep them involved and kind of get them back in the community. So I think that like third pillar is really just like community building, and that comes through the form of sort of like a membership for my past clients and or potentially to the public at some point. I also still do more hands-on like white glove service type of coaching. And then I'm actually throwing a retreat next weekend at like a hacienda vineyard, which is really exciting. So yeah, I think it's like the protein bars, brand partnerships, and then community. Yeah, which also involves podcast and all the stuff I already mentioned. So yeah, appreciate you guys having me here. I love doing this stuff.
Love it. Mike, thanks for coming on the pod, man. Where can people find you?
Yeah, I'd say Instagram is my main platform, just at Superfood Superhuman, all singular, all one word, superfoodsuperhuman.com. I'm also on TikTok, not as active. I'd say the main platform is Instagram at Superfood Superhuman.
Well, thanks for coming. Everyone, thanks for listening. And if you don't get 8 hours of sleep tonight and you're listening to this podcast, we will find you. But this is Life Spark. Catch you next time. Thanks again, Mike.
Thank you so much, guys. Appreciate it.